Hi, I'm Charlie Starr. The video you are about to watch is part of my free course, How to Read a Birth Chart. And now, back to this video. All right, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Trinity of Matter, or what I call the career houses. I'm Charlie Starr, thanks for watching, and I'm excited to bring to you today the second house, the sixth house, and the 10th house meanings. All of these houses have to do with the way in which we relate to our physical existence, resources, to the earth, to our physical self and our physical needs. How are we going to provide for those needs? How are we going to provide for the practical needs of other people for whom we are responsible? All of these things are falling into the Trinity of Matter. This also has to do with what we produce and how we produce to give back to the people that have taken care of our needs in the past on a personal level and on a societal level. Let's get right into it. All right, so the second house. The second house is a big deal. There's a lot packed into the second house. People with their sun in the second house. Whew, okay, I'll get into that. But so first of all, the second house, this is your own personal resources. This is not anybody else's resources. This is your resources, okay? So this is your money. This is also your possessions. Whatever your possessions are, this is it. One thing that I have seen too is maybe depending on your relationship to your body, how you compartmentalize yourself versus your body. I've known that your body can also fall into the second house as well as falling into the first house. The first house, the body is seen as a sort of gateway or lens to which you are accessed, whereas the second house relates to the body as like a resource that you have to take care of and to provide for, right? So that's why the second house I've seen be implicated for the body, if that makes sense. So you have resources, and one of those resources you have is your body, but another resource you have is your money, another resource you have is your possessions, and another thing that falls into this house is also your values. So what do you have? The question for this house is, what do I have? And you're going to answer that. It might seem like an objective question, but you're actually going to answer that question subjectively based on what you value. So if you value, like if I was to ask you the question, what do you have? How you answer that question is going to be the things that can fall into the second house. So you may have a lot of land and that's the thing that you value, but a different person may say, well, I have a family that's there for me. And I have seen people's families, people's homes, whatever it is that they value. Sometimes this is your own spiritual faith. Whatever it is that you're like, this is mine, I have it, this is my resource, this is what I feed myself with, that's going to be the second house. Okay? So when somebody has, this is why I was starting to say the sun in the second, like when somebody has their sun in their second house, this becomes a really big topic in their life, and the issue of self-worth, the sun being the ego and the self in this conscious way, right? It's like the issue of self-worth is a major topic. So this person is learning to value themselves. This person may also see themselves very strongly connected to what they have. So they may like consider their value or their worth to be attached to what they have. Another thing about the second house is this second house, as pertaining to your resources, also includes the skills that you have. So one of the resources that you have is the skills the things that you're good at, the skills that you already bring to the table. And with that being said, this makes it the first house in the career houses, because how do you start to figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to give back to the world, and at the same time provide for yourself and whoever else you're responsible for providing for? It's going to start with taking a look at what are the things that you're good at, what are the things that you're already trained in, where are you comfortable working, where do you really shine? All that's going to be second house stuff. Okay, so that brings us to the sixth house. The sixth house is called the house of service. You could also call this the house of devotion, or the house of maintenance, or practical work. So this house, everything in this house falls under the category of tasks that you need to do, things that you need to take care of. And that can be things that you need to take care of for yourself as well as for other people. So this includes maintenance of your physical body. This is also like the house of health and the house of illness. Where we work, our connection to the things that we have to do, but the things that don't exactly necessarily fill us with joy doing, right? Those things can have a negative impact on our health. Whereas if you're regularly serving in a way that also fills your own cup, you're going to enjoy better health. So this is also the house that has to do with our health and is very closely connected to illness and physical suffering. Okay, so this house includes our lifestyle choices and our habits, our nutrition, our exercise routine. This includes our chores around the house. This includes, for a lot of people, this includes their work. The thing that they do as even potentially a career could even fall into the sixth house. But it's kind of all the career things that you sort of have to do along the way. It's not necessarily the most fulfilling part of the career. So I don't know. Let's just be real about it. Like, there's a lot of things that you just have to do in order to get to where you want to go, and that is all sixth house stuff. So yeah, it is going to include chores. Oddly enough, this also includes pets. So for a lot of people, the sixth house is not always the most enjoyable, but it can be very rewarding. And a lot of the time we do it for the reward of it. One thing that's not talked about a lot with the sixth house is this being the house of devotion. So we work hard because there's something that we care about. Maybe we are not getting direct fulfillment out of the thing itself, but there's a greater cause that is motivating us to do the sixth house things. And a lot of that can be service towards a cause that you really care about, or a person that you really care about, or an outcome that you really care about. So that is why I call this house the house of devotion, among other things, because I do see with this house, although it gets a reputation, and reasonably so, because I have seen illness here, I have seen disease and suffering, and people being frustrated with doing jobs that are draining them. I see a lot of that happening in the sixth house. I see a lot of people struggling to change their lifestyle choices with sixth house stuff. All of that is sixth house, and yes, in Hellenistic astrology, I believe it's called the house of slaves, and I think it's called the house of bad fortune. So this is not like one of the most enjoyable houses usually, but it can be, and I think that it can be. It's just a difficult house to enjoy sometimes. A lot of people struggle to enjoy their routines, to enjoy the things that are actually going to be taking good care of their health. But a lot of people that are doing these things out of not so much obligation, but out of a spirit that is desiring and really valuing whatever it is that they're working for, and when they're focusing on that, then I think this devotion can make those things more fulfilling. It may be hard to find what service is rewarding, but service is not always about taking away from yourself to give to somebody else. It can and should be something that is mutually beneficial. That brings us to the 10th house. And the 10th house is our career. This is our aspirational point. This is the dream job, if you have a dream job, or the dream occupation, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to involve money, though most people want to get paid for this because they recognize that they need to get paid, or they need to eat, they need to provide for their own physical needs and possibly the needs of other people, right? but this is what they really want to be spending their time doing. A lot of the time, this is something that is good for humanity, that they're passionate about. And so the dream is to be able to spend their time doing that and getting paid for it. That's the 10th house. So that is very similar to the midheaven. I've heard the distinction that the midheaven more has to do with your fated aspiration and your fated public reputation, the way that other people see you, the most visible point where you're going to have the most success, no matter what your actual desire is, no matter what the vision is, which is more like 10th house stuff. That's how I've seen it separated, but it just depends what house system you're using, because there are some house systems that will start the 10th house on the cusp of the midheaven, such as Porphyry's house system, and I think also Placidus' house system does that too. So it just depends. And also, even in whole sign house system, for me, my midheaven is in my 10th house. So you can also do this way, which is the way that I read it, which is looking at where the midheaven is and adding that as another complex layer and reading that along with whatever sign and planets are in their 10th house. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this video is probably going to be a little bit longer than the other trinities because this is something that people always ask me about. I want you to pull your charts out so you can take a look at what element you have here. And when I'm going through and I'm talking about the, like say Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, if you have a planet that rules one of these placements in this sign, this also applies to you because that sign is also indicating a career for you. For example, I have in my 10th house is Sagittarius. The ruling planet of Sagittarius is Jupiter, but I have Jupiter in my chart in my 5th house in Cancer. So I could watch what is being said about Cancer for career placements because that is going to be applicable to me because Jupiter is indicating my career. I hope that makes sense. So right off the bat, the fire in the 2nd, the 6th, and the 10th, the Trinity of Matter. If you have fire signs here, you are looking for 2 things in your career that other people are less inclined to prioritize. The first is you're looking for excitement. Okay, like you're looking for adventure, you're looking for adrenaline rush, and you're also looking for meaning. The way that you work is rather chaotically, spontaneously, and independently. So this means that you need a lot of freedom in order to move where the spirit moves you, to do the thing that the spirit wants you to do. This is how you're going to find your fulfillment in life. Okay, so having fire here, you do well in jobs where you are not being micromanaged, there aren't a whole lot of rules, you're allowed a lot of autonomy, a lot of individuality, you don't necessarily need a structured routine, and you work well with incentives. So you are also more of a risk taker than people who have different elements here. So you're more likely to play with your money and play with your income in a way that is exciting to you. So you could like roll the dice, so to speak, with your finances, with your job, and take bigger risks, make bigger bets on what you're doing for money. And that is going to not shut you off due to too much stress in general compared to other people, because you are more excited by these risks than you are killed by them. Okay, like you're more turned on than you are turned off. You are looking for that thrill, you're looking for that excitement. So because you're looking for that, and you're also looking for meaning in your job, you need to do something that you're passionate about. You need to do something that is exciting to you, that you feel is fulfilling and stimulating. You cannot be bored in your job. Boredom is the death of your career. As soon as you are done with learning in your job, it's no longer interesting, and you'll most likely start looking at different careers because you're no longer being challenged, you're no longer being stimulated, you're no longer getting the adrenaline rush, where maybe that adrenaline rush is coming from learning that thing. That may be the case, or if your job's just not exciting enough, you're going to look somewhere else. If you're not allowed enough freedom, if you're not allowed to take enough risks, if you're not allowed to manage your energy on your own time, you're going to start looking somewhere else. So that's what I see with people who have fire in the spirit of matter in general. Now, talking specifically about the signs, what specific careers do I see these people falling into? Well, there's so many different careers that could fall into this category that I'm talking about. And actually, there's a lot of careers that don't, because a lot of places micromanage, a lot of places have, you know, very stable hours, very stable things. You will do well with like commission jobs. You'll do well with working for yourself. Okay, so these fire signs, these are the signs of the entrepreneurs. These are the signs of the startup companies, which takes a lot of initiative, it takes a lot of drive, which you guys have. You also have leadership qualities. So if you work in a company that is kind of structured, you'll probably be promoted to management. Another thing that will happen to you is that the new hires will be given to you to train because they recognize that you are good at teaching people, and you probably enjoy teaching people to do the things that you're good at doing. It kind of feels good. You have your ego in this part of your life because you have Leo here and you have Aries here. And if you additionally have, say, your sun in a fire sign as well, you're bringing your ego to work, which means that it is harder to work with other people, but you're constantly needing like that change. You're constantly needing that excitement, and you are going to fizzle out really quickly in a job where you feel that you're not getting enough attention and you're not getting the recognition you deserve. You're not getting the respect that you deserve. You're going to quickly lose interest in that job and want to move on to another one. I did write down some specific jobs for the fire signs here. So you work well in sales. Some people are going to get really stressed out with commission, as long as you're not being treated negatively if you don't make certain sales goals. If you're being given like incentive for commission-based work, you'll do really well here. You have a confidence that you bring to work that is kind of charismatic and magnetic in general. So again, that will make you do really well in sales. You also, I also just wrote like firefighters, like first responders, paramedics, you know, people who work in surgery or people who work in emergency care. You need, like, if you're in a situation that has trauma, that has excitement, that is good. Also, along with that goes the military or working in the sports industry. So for Leo, if you have Leo as your 10th house, you may be well suited to go into politics. This is the politician. Leo's the politician. Leo's the actor. Leo is the, you know, child. So you could also do well working with children. If you have Leo in your 10th house, you definitely need, and anywhere in the career houses, you definitely need to have your face forward. You need to be seen. You need to be put in the spotlight. You need to be treated with respect. And you probably need to be given a particular level of responsibility in your work, or you're going to just make a joke of it. You're going to play other people and you're going to joke around, and because if you don't feel respected, you're going to start becoming like a sulky cat, if that makes sense, and you'll start kind of like messing with people because you're not taking it seriously. So you do well with responsibility. If you have Leo in the 10th house, you probably are really well suited to work for yourself. Also, this can be psychology. Leo is interested in the way individual people work. And then also you could end up working with cats. It's really funny, like the different ways that these can play out. So look at the animals and also the body parts that are played out here and see what careers are attached to it. So with Leo, the body part is the heart, so cardiovascular system. and cardiac. Aries is the head and the vascular system. Sagittarius is the hips and the spine. So those are the body parts, and then the animals are like the horse, the sheep, right, the ram, and also the cats. So those are also things that can end up being signified in your careers. Aries, I think I already said military, trauma, sports, entrepreneurs. Sagittarius, religious occupations, spiritual leaders, gurus, teachers, professors, people who travel for work. This is teachers of all kinds. This is people who teach children. This is college professors. This is pastors, okay? This is people who have a religious or spiritual occupation. And then also, if you work in the travel industry, this is also indicated by Sagittarius. If you travel for work, or if you are helping other people travel, if you're like a travel agent or a pilot, that type of thing. Okay, that's it for the fire sign. Next, we're going to do the earth. Okay, earth in the Trinity of Matter. You guys are quite different from the people who have fire in the Trinity of Matter. People who have fire in the Trinity of Matter, they're looking for excitement and purpose. When you go to look for your career, you are looking for stability. You guys want, a lot of you guys actually want financial wealth. You want abundance. You want to have more than you need so that you have that extra buffer. You want security. You want stability. You want even luxury. You want to have something to pass down to the next generation. You want to provide for other people. So if you have like Taurus, I would say in your 10th house, you feel that you are reaching to be the provider for your nuclear unit. A lot of the time that's true. It's hard for somebody with Taurus on the 10th house to not work, because there's a lot that goes into needing to provide in order for you to feel good about yourself, because you have Leo on your ascendant, right? And then we also have Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is the planet of luxury and resources. So you're wanting to provide that. You're wanting an abundance. Luxury is basically an abundance of these resources. And so then also we have Capricorn, and Capricorn is the sign that wants to pave the way to set an example for the next generation. This sign wants to leave an inheritance. This sign wants to leave the next generation better off than they were. That's very Capricorn. Capricorn also is willing to put in the time to work hard for something, because it's ruled by Saturn. So a lot of the time, you guys, like people who have Earth here, you guys are hustlers. You're also really do well working independently, because you have Virgo here. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Virgo is the sign of the hermit. So because it's ruled by Mercury, the sign is incredibly intellectual, incredibly intelligent, but because it rules an Earth planet, you guys have the skill to apply the intellectual mind to physical, tangible issues. You guys need to have tangible results. You guys also need to have predictable results, because stability is something that you're looking for and prioritizing so much in this area of your life. It's like you don't do so well with high risk money opportunities and in unpredictable income. So it's harder for you guys to take big risks. Regular schedules, these things are your friend. You do well working within a company as long as that company is giving you the space to do what you do well. Because you guys, like I said, with Virgo, you're very intelligent and you're very good at problem solving. You're very good at seeing at observing and seeing what needs to be fixed, what needs to be addressed, and then figuring out how to do those things. And Virgo is also the sign of the servant. So you're often willing to put yourself in the position and solve that problem. In fact, you may often prefer to solve that problem alone rather than try and get other people on the team with you. Now, this is going to be depending, of course, on other placements in your chart, but the point is that you need space to do your job well, because you're already motivated to do your job. You're already motivated to be there. You're already motivated to hustle. You're already motivated to get that paycheck, and you're already pretty good at solving problems. So you don't need a lot of supervision. You need a lot of breathing room, but you are able to work really well in companies, because a lot of the time companies have very clearly defined ladders towards improving your status. They'll have particular like incremental periods where you can be sure that you're going to get a pay raise, et cetera, et cetera. That sort of predictability works really well for you. Now let's get into some of the specific careers with these signs. So for Virgo, so in general, if you work with the earth, that is indicated, like gardeners, landscapers, farmers, all of that. Taurus can indicate working with any type of farm animals, but specifically bovine. Virgo is going to be more specifically gardeners, but it's also scientists of all kinds, you guys. Researchers, people who work in healthcare. Virgo is also the sign of healthcare. Anything related to healthcare. So nutrition, fitness, dance, exercise, weight loss. Engineers, a lot of you guys work in tech, working on computers. You're like the geeks, the nerds. So that's hardware and software. Accountants, financial advisors. Mercury is the sign of the merchant and the sign of intelligence, and Mercury rules Virgo. So especially if you have prominent Virgo here, then you're going to be doing a lot of all this kind of like intellectual problem solving, and you're really good at it. Coders, okay, like that's another thing that Mercury is good at, language. So that's why the engineers. Earth in general likes to work with your hands. But you need to see actual physical tangible results of what you're doing. You work hard, you're consistent, and at the end of the day, you want to see the reward of that. You want to see the reward of that both in your paycheck and to know that what you're doing is making a measurable difference. Statistics, business analysts, business owners, bosses, corporate leaders, finance, stock market, you guys are going to take risks that are calculated, okay? Not emotional, exciting risks like the fire signs. You're going to take well-calculated, precise types of risks. And you may be very well suited at advising other people how to do the same. You may also be good at managing other people's money, okay? And taking care of other people's resources for them. Capricorn, specifically bosses, business owners, Navy SEALs, you guys, because the sign of, I've seen this a couple times, people who work and who are in the Navy having Capricorn indications here, because the sea goat is Capricorn's sign, and it's also the sign of the Navy. So that's kind of fun. And then also I've seen people who actually worked on a goat farm who had Capricorn in their 6th house. So it's very funny how these things can kind of manifest. So then Taurus is ruled by Venus. So Taurus is not only luxury, but Taurus is also the earth. So it's the environment. Anybody who's going into working the land and working with the environment. So environmental scientists, you guys, we need you. Please come help us out. The planet needs your help, please. We have hairdressers, food industry, so that can be commercial food industry, it can be small business farmers, it can be working in restaurants. I often see Taurus people working as servers, people working as cooks. Reproductive industry, maternity, women and female issues, because Taurus is also the sign of the mother, shared with Cancer. The bull is actually the uterus and the fallopian tubes. So you can also end up working in women's issues, birthing care facilities, doulas, that kind of thing. Anything that has to do with the women's reproductive anatomy. And then as far as like body parts, Taurus rules the throat. Then we have Capricorn is going to be the nails, the skin, and the bones. And then Virgo is going to be the digestive system. The other thing with Taurus is you can go into the beauty industry, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. And so this is also indicating beauty and hair. I think that's it for the earth. Let's move on to the air signs here. if you have air here in the 2nd, the 6th, the 10th house, your Trinity of Matter, then you have Earth on your ascendant. That means that you are looking for that financial stability, but you may struggle with knowing how to get there on your own. I see this especially with Capricorn rising. But when you have other people to work with you, you do really, really well, because you're really good at working with people, or you need to work with people for your career to work. So air in general is going to be networking, communication, the internet, media, advances in technology, music, musicians, artists. Okay, you guys are vocalists, you guys can play instruments, you guys are really good at like designing websites for people, translators, like that kind of thing. You're looking for that interaction with other people in order to like achieve something meaningful or even just effective. Gemini would mean that you have Virgo as your rising sign. So Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and also your midheaven is ruled by Mercury because it's Gemini. And these are the two signs ruled by Mercury. There's a lot of mercurial energy here. There's a lot of different careers I've seen with people, but it always involves communication or writing, that type of thing. So I've seen poets. Gemini can also be like early childhood education and teaching of basic skills. In contrast to Sagittarius, which is teaching in a broader sense of the term, Gemini is going to be teaching very practical skills, which can include teaching language, but it just like I said, it includes anything that's a very practical, think like a trade school type of stuff. News reporters, editors, English teachers, novelists, engineers, and coders, because you're learning a language, which is computers, and you're also having computer languages, and you're also having to work with other people, working on a computer, working through technology. You guys do really well with that. Then let's see. So I have Air Force for Gemini, air travel, secretaries, intermediaries, radio and news talk shows, podcast hosts, voice actors, musicians, poets, writers, translators, coders. Okay, I think I said some of that already. You guys are so good at problem solving, and one thing that a lot of the time you have to work on is communicating respectfully and effectively in your Gemini situation. So sometimes, because Virgo is so smart, the challenge here is working with people that you feel aren't on your level. And that is the thing that you need to learn in order to help your career grow, and also for your own happiness. Libra, if you have Libra on your 10th house, that means you're a Capricorn rising. What I've noticed, Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is the planet of creativity and the planet of beauty. So you guys are artists. This can be challenging for you guys. I've noticed that a lot of artists who are Capricorn rising, they have Libra on the 10th house, they're very creative, and they just feel like they don't know how they're gonna make it. They don't know how to get there, because they have that Capricorn rising, which kind of needs the steps to be, it's an earth sign, and we just covered how the earth signs function. Capricorn feels that the steps to success need to be predictable, secure, and clearly laid out. And that is not the path of an artist. So it's very challenging for people with Capricorn rising, Libra on your midheaven, on your 10th house, to have success as an artist, because there's an expectation for the process to follow a certain structure, and it's not going to. And because they can't see the process, then they don't know how to get to the end result. So this is the struggle. They also want to make their art their main source of income. Now, I have seen people do this successfully, so it's not all bad news. It's just, this is a challenging aspect. Form a plan and try to go with that plan as much as you can, but recognize that the steps are going to change along the way, and learn to be okay with it. The other thing is, because it's an air sign here, working with other people is crucial. Capricorn kind of likes to be on top And so it's challenging sometimes to work with other people. That's, I think, again, the Achilles heel. It's similar to like the Virgo rising, is that you guys do need people, other people, to help you get there. No artist does it all themselves. A vocalist needs a band. Don't be afraid of involving other people. Don't put your ego too much in your artwork. And sometimes I've seen people do really well when they have some other way of making money. They do their artwork on the side until their artwork starts to take over and becomes their main source of financial means. So that's the other thing too. But you guys are artists, so don't give up on that, and don't become bitter because you gave up on your dream because you didn't know how you were going to get there. I have seen Libra 10th house people get there. Oh, also Libra of the 10th house. Advocacy, human rights, judges, lawyers, courts, relationship counseling, therapists, trophy spouses. Okay, I was seeing these people like not working, but they're like wonderful partners. Cosmetics and beauty industry, because Venus, fine jewelry, art, interior design, architecture, campaign organizers, pageantry. Lots of options here, you guys. Let's talk about Aquarius. Aquarius is also pretty good in politics. Their heart is in a really good place if they go into politics, because the passion here is equitable social reform. Aquarius is the sign of the group and prioritizing what benefits the greatest amount of people. Along with this goes like social work and advocacy, anywhere that you are promoting to make social change. This is also new technology. So Aquarius on the midheaven is going to be bringing new advancements to our scientific discoveries, space travel. It's also going to be addressing global concerns like poverty and the eccentric thinker. So you are more likely to fall into a unconventional career. Music, societal reform, new technological advances, tech. Aquarius is also a sign that's associated with the internet. So again, working from home, working with teams of people online, and then abstract statement art. So these are definitely the people that are in bands. These are definitely the people that can play multiple instruments. These are definitely the people that go on tour. They love the crowds. They love their homies. This is the Aquarius energy. That's what I have for the air signs. Water and the Trinity of Matter. I saved you guys for last because I honestly think you guys are the hardest ones. If you have water in the Trinity of Matter, it is so difficult because it's hard. Water is hard to define, and water is fluid, and water is always changing. You're going to have Pisces in either the 2nd, the 6th, or the 10th house, and Pisces is the dissolution of the ego. It's the letting go of everything. So a lot of the time people with water, it's almost like the opposite of people here with earth. There isn't that much of a hustle for tangible things because it's almost like a lot of you guys are like above it. So when you're like, it's like you're above, you almost like maybe resent the need to work. And it's not that you don't want to work, but the work that you want to do is not to get rich. There's like a non-attachment here to like the financial, tangible, material aspect of the world in your career. The thing that you guys are most looking to do in your career is to like save people. Okay, so like that's the best way. You want to heal the world. You want to save the world. You want to make the world a better place. You're wanting to give compassionately. You're always going to have air on the ascendant, so you're thinking about people all the time. And that is something that is going to indicate the type of work that you do and that you find meaningful, is because your focus is really a lot of the time on living beings. That's usually humanity, but it also extends to animals. And you really see a lot of the suffering that humanity has, And that can be really difficult to find a job in the corporate world to pay your bills. It's really good if you can minimize your expenses that you need, like minimize the things that you need in life so that you can be freed up to be that person that literally goes with the flow of where you're giving back to the world, okay? The specific careers that I have for water people with water in the Trinity of Matter. Where do I have it written down? Somewhere. Scorpio on the 10th house. Healers. I see a lot of physicians, specifically surgeons, but that's probably because I work in surgery. But a lot of physicians, has to do with trauma healing, but just healing in general. This also has to do with helping people move through difficult transitions, and that includes death. Water is also associated with death and birth. So anywhere that there is close contact to death or birth happening, that is often a place where people with water in the Trinity of Matter end up working. So that's going to be like hospitals, it's going to be graveyards, it's going to be hospice centers, it's going to be birthing inns, it's neonatal care, Pisces especially is associated with the unborn. Scorpio here, this is why I say physicians specifically, like maybe even more so than nurses. Nurses would be maybe more like Cancer and Pisces, but Scorpios here often are surgeons or doctors, physicians, because Scorpio is the sign of power. So if you have Scorpio in your 10th house, you need to have a lot of power. You need to have a lot of authority in your own job. And even being a physician a lot of the time is not enough power, because you are still have to be part of the bureaucratic system. So you still have insurance companies to deal with, you still have the hospital to deal with, you still have, I'm sorry, but the world of healthcare is corrupt. So sometimes it's not the happiest place for Scorpio, but if you can get into a position where you feel like you are making a big difference in healing people, that is what Scorpio is all about. So healers, power, helping people through death and transformative experiences. Also secrecy is also associated with Scorpio. So we have spies, detectives, FBIs, law enforcement, secret societies. You may find yourself in a career that has a lot of secrets. There's a lot of non-disclosure agreements that you have to make. Maybe you're not allowed to tell people what you did at work, which actually applies to physicians because of HIPAA. If you have Pisces on the 10th house, this opens up a lot. You can be a nurse, you can work with internal medicine, so drugs, psychiatry, and psychology. Pisces is also associated with imagery, and this can translate to film. So this is like film actors and actresses. You also would have Gemini on your ascendant if you have Pisces in your 10th, and both Gemini and Pisces are good at chameleon work. So you guys can be really good actors. You guys are also really good to be going undercover, because you can kind of manipulate yourself into whatever role that you need to play, which can also mean that you work a lot of different types of jobs and a lot of different positions. Working for non-profit organizations, charity organizations. Pisces is the sign of compassion. So you guys have a lot of compassion for humanity generally, and artists, and that would be like visual artists. And then also bartenders, because the serving, its association with drugs, drug dealers, and then also teachers. And by the way, like I'm talking about what's on the 10th, but you're going to have, if you have water in all three of these, you're going to have that sign either in your second house of skills you have to monetize or in your sixth house of work that you fall into, okay? I'm just focusing on the 10th house because the 10th house is more the types of things that people are aspiring to in their career, and so it's generally the more advisable things in the chart. I hope that makes sense. Cancer, if you have Cancer on the 10th house, Cancer is associated with safety, security, and nurture. Generally, I would say that especially if you are a man, this placement puts a lot of pressure on you. It's similar to having Taurus here, because this is this is like a provider sign. So this is what you're really aiming for, is like stability for your family. and safety. It's going to be important for you guys to have like secure, safe, stable housing for your family, and that's going to be a primary concern when it comes to your work. So you might, because you have Libra on the ascendant and you're thinking about your partner and your partner's needs, you might be doing whatever you're doing for work in order to provide that for your partner. So Cancer is definitely associated with real estate because it's the sign of housing, and that's in any capacity, you guys. So you can own multiple properties, you can be a property manager, you can be a realtor, you can work in law because you have Libra on your rising sign. So if you help people with legal matters associated to real estate and to renter agreements and things of that nature. Anything having to do with homes that can include interior design, because Libra on the ascendant makes you artistically minded, as well as having an eye for what looks good. And then also I would say oncology, because I have seen Cancer, the sign, literally indicate working in cancer. For all of these, all of the water signs, crime, psych, history, all the water signs, especially Cancer, are associated with history. So you can be a history professor or somebody who's very interested in learning about ancestry, genealogy, the past. So archaeologists, reproductive health, mysterious or undercover work, creative work, because water is the creative element, death workers, caregivers, hospice workers, painters. Okay. And that's it for the Trinity of Matter video. I hope that was helpful for you guys. I love this topic, so please hit me up in the comment section with different questions and let me know, what is it that you do for work? Where is the ruler? Who is the ruler of your 10th house, and where is the ruler of your 10th house? Also, is your midheaven in your 10th house? Because if your midheaven is not in your 10th house, where is your midheaven? I'm very curious to know. Let me know. And thanks for watching.